this is James, and I'm here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting May the 29th, 2017. This week, I wanted to work with the Lenormand, keeping with the idea that this video reading is taking place during the same time that I am presenting a video series on Lenormand card meanings. So I figured, since I'm immersed in Lenormand right now, this would be a great week to work with the deck as a whole. So I'm working this week with the Mystical Lenormand, and the deck is by Regula, Elizabeth Fiechter, the artwork is by Trӧsch, and it is published by AGM. So I have the deck on hand, and I'm shuffling the cards. And as I do for every one of these weekly general readings, I'm asking the basic question, what do we need to know about the week ahead? Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the cards. And fan the deck out. And now when I work with the Lenormand, I do a line of 5 reading. So now I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan to get my attention. And these will be making up the cards for this week. All right. So I have the 5 cards picked up, or picked out, and now I'm going to pick up the rest of the deck and put that to one side. So now I have the 5 cards for the week face down in front of me. And when I do a line of 5 reading, I always look to the middle card. For me, the middle card is going to show us what the potential focus or the central issue for the week could be. So looking at the card, we have the heart. Okay, so for me, heart is a card that can represent love and romance. So for some of us watching this video, we may be focused on our love relationships, our romantic relationships, things of that nature. It could also be from a more general standpoint. Heart is a card that is asking us to look at the way we relate to people, so that could just be about our relationships generally speaking. For me, going with the idea that I've been talking about keywords and my own personal keyword associations in relation to those other videos that I mentioned, for me, heart can be a card that can represent passion and enthusiasm. So it could be like the central issue for this week could be basically what it is that we are passionate about. Like, what's our passion? You know, what are we enthusiastic about in terms of life and living? You know, in this particular image on the card, I'm always struck by the heart being on fire. So I always goes like, what is it that sets your heart on fire this week, and how can you focus more on those types of relationships or those types of activities this week? You know, as I'm talking about your heart on fire, it makes me also feel like, what is it that you have a burning desire for, you know, this week? So again, heart is about love and romance, so it could be about love relationships, romantic relationships. It could be about what are we passionate about, what are we enthusiastic about, what do we have a burning desire for. You know, but from a general standpoint, it could be like a lot of the things that we experience may be as a direct result of how we choose to relate to other people this week. So that is the card in and of itself. So now, Lenormand is best read in combination, so the surrounding cards are going to give us more information as to what heart is really trying to get across to us this week. So, looking at the cards from left to right, on the far left we have Clover. Next to Clover and in between heart we have the Lady card, okay? And then on the other side of heart we have, on the inner right, we have Cross. And then rounding out the line on the far right, we have Ship. Okay, so what I normally do is I tend to look at the cards that are immediately flanking the center card to give us more information about the central issue. So going with the card on the left of heart, we have Lady. So Lady is a card that is known as a significator card. So Lady will just represent a woman. So if you're a woman watching this video, Lady card could represent you. If you're a man watching this video, then Lady could be a lady or a woman who is significant to you, someone who is important to the situation. So now, since heart is right next to Lady, it could be heart would be a way to describe her. So it could be a woman who's loving, a woman who's romantic, a woman who's passionate, a woman who's enthusiastic, you know, a woman who has a burning desire, or a woman who has a strong passion for accomplishing something. You know, her heart is set on fire. That's, you know, her heart's on fire for something. So again, those could be ways of describing her. It could also be, because we go with the idea of direction, you know, the interesting thing here is that the heart card is behind the lady card, meaning that she's not looking at it. So it could be something from her recent past. She could be dealing with an emotional issue. She could be dealing with her feelings. She could be dealing with a relationship, you know, a prior relationship experience. It's behind her. It's something in her past. You know, so that could be, like, if you're a woman watching this video, it could be you processing your feelings, your emotions, maybe connected to a relationship, a specific romantic partnership or relationship, or that you are now becoming more in touch with something that you are passionate about, something you have a burning desire about, but it was just a recent thing, again, because it's very close to the lady card in the line. So there's that. Now, if we go to the other side, here we have cross. And so cross is a card that can mean difficulties and burdens. That's the first traditional go-to meanings for this card. So it could be, again, if we look at heart, because it's very close to heart in the line, if we look at heart as, you know, a relationship, a romance, you know, something having to do with love, cross could suggest, if we pair them, cross could suggest like a difficult romance, you know, love being difficult, you know, that kind of thing. As the other end of it too, if we go with the idea here that the lady card is first in the sequence and then heart is behind her, so now we're talking about a past or a prior relationship that the lady has been in, cross would be suggesting like a past relationship that was difficult, or a past relationship that caused a lot of grief and sorrow, because those are emotional qualities that I attach to cross, right? So there's that. Now, if we go with the other aspects of cross for me can represent spirituality, so I tend to look at it as a very spiritual card. And it could also be about religion or being religious. So now if we pair lady and cross, it could be a spiritual woman or a religious woman, or a woman who has faith. That's the other attribute to her cross that I have. You know, so it could be a woman who, you know, is all of those things. It could also be, too, if we go with the pairing, then cross will be behind lady, right? So then it could be a woman who has experienced difficulty in her past, because again, it's behind her, or a woman who has had some sort of sorrow in the past recently, again, with the idea going with direction, because it's behind her, right? So there's that. But it could also be, if we take the idea that lady is the one who's having this emotional experience going with heart, then it could also be, too, a woman who has been in touch with her soulmate. If you go with the idea like this is relationships, heart is about relationships, then cross would be, you know, a spiritual relationship or a spiritual romance, something of that nature. And my first go-to would be like a soulmate, or maybe even, because there is an Adam and Eve depiction on heart, somebody who has just discovered her twin flame. You know, if you subscribe to those kinds of ideas of soulmates or twin flames, and it could be somebody who has had a romance or a relationship that kind of fits those qualities or has those kind of qualities in it. So there's those possibilities as well. So for me, my go-to would be like a woman who may be processing emotionally a relationship in which she experienced a lot of difficulty, and especially with the cards being behind her, then maybe it was a relationship that was difficult, or, you know, a relationship that has ended, and as a result there's a lot of grief and sorrow attached to that. So those are some of my meanings for cross in the line. Now, we go with the outer cards. On the far left we have clover. Clover is a card for me that can represent luck, it can represent fortune, you know, it could represent all good things coming to the person. And it's very interesting because now if we take a look at it, the woman is facing clover. So it could be her facing some good luck. She's got some good, she may have had a difficult time in the past, which was why cross was behind her, and now ahead of her, she's moving into an area or into a space where she's got good luck and fortune coming her way. So that's one way of looking at Clover in relation to woman in the line. It could also be a card of opportunity. So it could be a woman is going to be receiving an opportunity or coming in contact with an opportunity or facing an opportunity. And with that, she's going to have to take the option. She's going to have a choice to make. She could look at the opportunity as a chance to start over or a chance for a fresh start, something of that nature. But it's all about a chance, because I put chance with Clover. But it's also too about risk or a gamble. So there could be, like, whatever this opportunity is that's being presented to the woman, she's going to have to think about whether she's looking at it as a chance, or she's going to have to look at what are the risk factors involved in it, you know, and how much of a gamble is she willing to take on this opportunity. The other thing with that, and this may be in relation to having to look at it as a chance or a risk, is that Clover is a card that can show up when the opportunity being presented is short or brief, because I tend to look at Clover as something brief or short term. So the window of opportunity may be very short, you know, so that's it. It could also be too, like if the woman has had a difficult time in the past and she's looking at things from an emotional standpoint, then Clover is urging her to be more spontaneous. You know, how can she be more spontaneous? How can she be a little more carefree this week? How could she be a little more happy-go-lucky? That kind of thing. What would need to happen for her to kind of have an emotional turnaround? Because I'm seeing that kind of energy. So there may be an opportunity for her to have a change in how she feels. So that's how I'm seeing Clover. Now, that brings us to the last card in the line. And so now we have Ship at the other end. So Ship, especially with Ship being behind woman in the line, it makes me feel like something has set sail. Like that ship has set sail. And so maybe the woman is emotionally processing that, whatever that departure is, right? So that's one way of looking at it. Ship could also be, if we go with the idea here, that Clover is about opportunity and they're mirroring each other, so they become a pair in the line, then this card is about like a progression, advancement, moving on, you know, moving on in her life journey. The ship is over water, so that could bring, again, with the cross being about spirituality, that could bring a spiritual element to it, like her spiritual journey. But it could also be to her emotional journey and like navigating those emotional or spiritual waters this week. You know, but at the end of the line, Ship is a card that talks about progress being made, you know, moving forward, advancement, that kind of energy. But with it, I'm thinking, like, since it's behind her in the line, it's about like dealing with the emotional ramifications of something that has set sail, you know, that kind of energy. And so on that note, that is how I will end and wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook. So I am James Himm Mitchell, and as I close, I'd like to thank you for sharing the time and space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.